Well, a major development that we're seeing, and of course, this comes as we saw how South Asia was engulfed in heightened tensions. All the world focus was on South Asia at the moment. India with its aggressive posture and provocations. Pakistan showing restraint, but with Operation BUNYAN MARSOUS, Pakistan has responded in a very befitting manner and, of course, given a very effective response to the enemy. In the studios, we'll be talking about Operation BUNYAN MARSOUS and this development that we see with regards to the tweet from the US President Donald Trump. In the studios, we've been joined by Ms. Farzana Yaqub, who is a former Minister of Azad Jammu and Kashmir. We've also been joined by our correspondent Hassan Gilani. Thank you both for your time and being part of the conversation. Starting off from Ms. Farzana, the very major development that we see at the moment with regards to the tweet seen by the US President. Yeah. Your comment on that?
I would just say that clearly America allowed India to go all huff and puff. India does not have the courage to have come so far without any kind of signaling from its so-called friends. And after some days of causing a lot of damage to Pakistan, which of course was very well defended, particularly we've seen a lot of altercation on LOC, a lot of houses, a lot of civilian people have been injured, but let's see how this works out, because a few days ago Indian Army did put up a white flag on one of its posts in LOC, but then it attacked. So I hope that India listens to America, because it wasn't listening to anyone. Pakistan has always shown restraint. Pakistan has shown its best skill in this very restrained and very targeted altercation with India. This was all on Pakistan's terms clearly, and Pakistan is a clear winner in this. They did not take this as we had seen the kind of response in 2019, which was really sad, and it just emboldened India to what it is doing today. So I am glad, alhamdulillah. Any loss of life is indeed sad, but if it means that, you know, the territorial sanctity of our country is being questioned, then everyone, I believe, has shown clearly that we are ready to defend our country. The forces were no more 600,000 or 700,000. There was 250 million armed personnel throughout Pakistan. So I believe that this is congratulations to everyone. Everyone came together. Everyone set aside their political differences, and may Allah be with us for being unified at such horrible, tragic times.
Well, definitely a very brave and a very resilient nation, and of course a very proud nation, and it has also shown its vigor and resolve as it stood shoulder to shoulder with the armed forces through all these testing times, and the armed forces given more reason to the nation to become proud of the security forces that we have. Sangilani, we've been talking about the tensions in South Asia. We've also been covering the developments since the past many days. A tweet by the US President Donald Trump, of course, has announced a ceasefire taking effect between Pakistan and India. This comes in the backdrop, I'll talk about it. The Pahalgam false flag operation, India's patterns of the old, using false flag operations as pretext to carry out their illegal unilateral actions. They tried the same, patterns of the old. They tried it this time as well, but they were exposed in front of the whole world. Even their strategic allies were calling for de-escalation, were calling India to show restraint, but we saw how they were ignoring all these calls. Despite that, how we saw the diplomatic support for Pakistan, and how we saw the Pakistan's well-measured and very responsible statement in the face of Indian jingoism. Your comments on the diplomatic situation that has that we saw over the past few days, and how India's propaganda and its using pretext false flag operations for its illegal unilateral actions has failed miserably and exposed India and the radical mindset behind it in front of the whole world.
Well, first of all, it's a very welcome development, and it was somewhat expected following the high-level contact between the US Secretary of State, Mr. Rubio, and Pakistan's Army Chief, and of course with the Indian Minister for External Affairs, Shahrukh. So we could see something really significant coming up, and which finally came out, which is very welcome development, because this part of the world is home to about 1/5 of the world's total population, and millions of people living in this region have heaved a sigh of relief now that this ceasefire has been announced. Having said that, now the point is that what is going to happen after this? That's the main question. Is India going to behave itself? Is India going to act responsibly? Is India going to shun all its rogue elements? I take it with a pinch of salt.
Yes,
Reason being
indeed.
that if you look at Modi's track record for the last 20 years, ever since he came into power, and ever since he became the Prime Minister this time, he has constantly been resorting to these hegemonic designs against Pakistan. If you recall the current manifesto of the BJP government, it is very dangerous. It calls for a situation where Pakistan, God forbid, does not exist on the face of earth. It calls for wiping out Pakistan from the face of earth. It calls for a greater India, starting from Bhutan, covering Nepal, then Pakistan, Afghanistan, and then so on and so forth. And I have this hunch.
Hegemonic designs, of course,
Hegemonic designs.
Sangilani will come towards that, but
Sure.
we'll have to move towards very important
Okay.
breaking news that we're receiving just at the moment. We saw how South Asia was engulfed in heightened tension since the past many days. Pakistan, with Operation BUNYAN MARSOUS and India's provocative and aggressive posture, it has responded in a very befitting and effective manner. Now that we've seen this very welcome development that comes as the US President Donald Trump has also tweeted, Pakistan's Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar has also tweeted of a full and immediate ceasefire that has been reached between India and Pakistan. Your take on that?
Well, Pakistan is, as you know, peace-loving, and we've always tried for peace in the region and peace in the country. But in India's belligerent attitude and repeatedly doing things, false flag operations, and then blaming it on Pakistan, this time we decided that we're not going to take it lying down. And this time the international community also stood by the right and stood by the principled stance of Pakistan, and nobody took India's, blame seriously, and nobody really said that Pakistan was to blame for that. And after that, Pakistan still showed restraint, even though India, on its social media, on its actual media, was really spewing poison, I must say. Whereas Pakistani media, as well as the Pakistani people, the Pakistani army, was still showing restraint. But during that restraint, we were able to down their airplanes, their fighter jets, and their drones that they were sending to our country. And now that we have given them a befitting response, as you said, and a strong response, which we have repeatedly, and the Pakistani army has repeatedly said that Pakistan's territorial integrity and sovereignty is something that is uncompromisable, and we will tenaciously and inshallah stand by that and do everything. Even though India thinks that it's very strong and a big country, but Pakistan, size does not equal might. Pakistan has shown that, and after that, we still stand with peace. We still think that these two nuclear nations should not be at war with each other. We stand with peace, and it's a very good, thing that the international community has finally been able to convince India to stop its aggression and to stop and to cease fire. And I think that's going to be very good, because war is never a good way to go forward. Innocent people's lives go in war, and there's bloodshed. There's economically, both countries would obviously have suffered if this war had continued. So this is a good thing that India has finally seen sense after being shown that Pakistan will not take any false accusation or any aggression lying down.
Definitely. Thank you for being part of the conversation, Mr. Raman Sab, and for your valuable insights. Of course, very significant and very important development. South Asia, if we talk about it, since the past many days had been engulfed in heightened tensions, but with a very significant development that we see a ceasefire has been reached between Pakistan and India. Talk more about this. We've been joined by Asma Shakir, who's joined us on via video link and via phone line. Thank you for your being part of the conversation. Of course, a very welcome development if we talk about the ceasefire that has been reached, and how the Deputy Prime Minister and the US President has also confirmed them in their tweets. But But when we talk about India, of course, Pakistan has responded in a very befitting and effective manner. India, but it has a pattern of the old, of propaganda, war hysteria, and whether it be their Bollywood movies or their Bollywood-inspired mainstream or electronic media, they continue with spewing venom against Pakistan. And a very welcome development, the ceasefire that we see. But accountability for India is the question. It's not just Pakistan that has problems. It's whether it's the Five Eyes, India's own strategic allies. India has been carrying out extrajudicial and extraterritorial and illegal activities in many parts of the world. Accountability for India for its illegal and extrajudicial activities, it's not just plunging South Asian region into chaos and turmoil, but it's affecting this peace and stability of the world at large.
Yeah, first of all, I would like to congratulate the brave Pakistani nation for actually pushing India to accept ceasefire as the only available option. That is what Pakistan, since day one, Pakistani government was requesting India, was stating that war is not a solution. War is not something which is the solution to any problem, but it is beginning of more problems. But unfortunately, Modi regime was unable to understand these such diplomatic language of Pakistan unless or until Pakistan adopted the language of which India understands, and that is the language of power. And last night, only one night, Indian people, Indian public, and government saw that what Pakistan was pledging in terms of power, in terms of technique, tactical superiority, that is true. And Pakistan government's political will, readiness, preparedness of military forces is very much there. So Pakistan would not shy away from protecting the integrity and sovereignty of our dear homeland. So after that, Indian government accepted this ceasefire as the option. Otherwise, you have seen that for since the Pahalgam incident, all international community was trying to convince India and stating in different statements that peace is the only option and both countries should talk and negotiate whatever problems they have. Here, I would also like to quote that all famous strategists, including Chanakya Kautilya, which Indians think as their godfather, stated that if a military general or head of the government or king is reckless, emotional, and aggressive, he would kill his own forces. And that's exactly what Modi regime has done to to Indian public and Indian military. All that economic cost, the human cost, the social cost, because of Modi's hegemonic and aggressive designs has been caused for Indian people, that is not compatible or proportioned to the aim Modi wanted to achieve. Everyone during past 1 week was asking that what Modi wants to achieve from Operation Sindoor. And believe me, as a student of strategic study, even I was unable to find that what is the actual aim or objective Modi wants to get through this Operation Sindoor. This Operation Sindoor was unique in a manner that Modi or his regime tried to pink wash the war crimes being committed by Modi forces against their own people and the people of Pakistan. Someone was talking here that the damages done in Pakistan, but I would say that luckily the damages were not that grave which Pakistan suffered, because we developed as a more connected, more united nation during past 2 weeks. We have seen that the commonalities of resilience, of determination, of hard work, of our commitment to stand against any enemy which tries to coerce us. But we actually renewed those sentiments which Pakistani nation is having for last, like since our inception. But it is only Modi's frantic, I would say, state behavior which is endangering not only the, I always say, the not only the regional peace but the world peace as well. It is today, it is us. But in Canada, in America, in Australia, involved in extracontinental killings and political maneuverings. And this is how Modi regime is destabilizing the international, the community. Modi regime is detrimental for the minorities of in India and the Dalits in India. But Modi eventually he would, because we during past 2 weeks we have seen that the playbook Modi is using, that is either Nazi inspired or Israel inspired. So that is what international community has to think, that do they or can they afford another rogue state? Because you see, people were asking me that why Modi is committing all those crimes and doing all these things, which doesn't look good for a nation which intends to become an economic power, which dreams to be a regional power or a superpower. And my answer always was that this is how Modi wants to define India for next couple of decades. This is what definition Modi and Indian public has.
Definitely, Dr. Asma Shakir, very important points that you raised. And of course, it talks about how the radical mindset in India by the BJP regime, by the RSS inspired, and of course, a radical mindset that is not just creating problems for the Muslims in India, but it is targeting every minority, whether it be the Sikhs, the Christians, even the lower caste Hindus are facing persecution under this radical mindset. We'll continue with our conversation, but right after this short break for the headlines. Welcome back to Situation Room, continuing the conversation from where we left off, moving towards Ms. Fazana Yaqub, as we were talking about the communal politics and the oppressive tactics that the BJP has been using since a very long time, and the war hysteria and the propaganda that we see. They leave no stone unturned to spew venom against Pakistan. Even their Bollywood, the entertainment industry, is focused on anti-Pakistan propaganda, or their Bollywood-inspired media, electronic media or mainstream media. It goes on with its anti-Pakistan rhetoric, and that's what it feeds to its masses, and it's been doing so since a very long time. It did so same with the Pahalgam false flag operation. It continued, and it's patterns of the old that it repeats. But with regards to that, we saw how it could plunge not only South Asia into such chaos and turmoil, but this kind of politics and these oppressive and radical kind of ideology that he has been, the RSS and the BJP has been pursuing, how it can be devastating for global peace and progress. Pakistan has been advocating for peace and progress since very long, a very welcome development, ceasefire that we see between both the countries. But this is not the first time that it has happened. India has been doing so since very long, and there could be a possibility that it decides to do so with the RSS BJP regime in power, that could try to do so again in the future when it wants to garner political votes, or when they want election campaigning for themselves. What instrument or accountability mechanism do you think should be in place by the international community? Because it is not something that has happened just once. Pakistan has been time and time again raising these issues. The Five Eyes, they also have credible intelligence with regards to Indian illegal activities. Their own strategic allies have called them India out for their illegal activities. But they continue with their radical and extremist mindset with total immunity from all the accountability that the other countries face. Your comment on that?
Well, when it comes to India, I am a complete pessimist. I have zero hopes of India ever behaving itself or ever giving up on the hope of creating Akhand Bharat. It is not just about BJP being at the helm of affairs. This is going to move forward, and as a Kashmiri I can tell you that whether it has been Congress or it has been BJP, whoever has been there, Indian occupied Kashmir has never had a time where Kashmiris were not being abused.
Sorry to cut you here, but a very important breaking news coming in here, and we'll have to see what the development is. A very significant development as a ceasefire has been reached between Pakistan and India, and the tensions in South Asian regions, they come and de-escalate as Pakistan's airspace has been fully reopened for all flights. This is a major development as Pakistan had earlier closed its airspace for all kind of air traffic. This is news just in and comes as a development with regards to the ceasefire that has been reached between Pakistan and India. To talk more about this, we've been joined by our special correspondent Raza Khan. Yes, Raza, what details do you have for us?
Yes, Rafae, a positive development, and of course, as the ceasefire has been agreed to from 4:30 p.m. Between Pakistan and India, and this was announced by the President of the United States, Donald Trump, and as a result of that, due to changed circumstances, the airspace which had been closed till 12 p.m. tomorrow has been, reopened, and it has been restored completely for all types of flights. Pakistan's airspace has been open to all kinds of airspace, and this has been announced by the spokesman of the Pakistan Airports Authority, Karachi. In all the airports, the normal flight operation shall be available according to Pakistan Airports Authority. Passengers are requested that they should follow the different websites and contact the relevant airline for the schedule of their flights.
Definitely a very important development. Thank you, Raza Khan, for updating us. Pakistan has opened its airspace as earlier it was closed with regards to the ongoing tensions that were going on in the South Asian region, and now a major development. Coming back to our conversation that we have and we were having, Ms. Farzana Yaqub, you were.
Yes, so pessimism on that end, but I think we need to be extremely careful. Alhamdulillah, as satisfying as it is that Pakistan has defended itself and given befitting response, but we have to look back at this, that is this a new norm that India is setting, that whenever it feels like it enters into the Pakistan airspace or land territory, attacks so-called terrorist havens and then goes back, and then comes in America or any other mediator, and then there is a ceasefire. There has to be a complete understanding and acceptance that India has been looking for war. It always uses Pakistan as a rogue state, and it requires Pakistan for its election campaign. Indians are not ready to vote for anyone until and unless you don't abuse Muslims and Pakistanis in particular. Now we have to look and be very careful that what should we be doing at this point of time. Clearly India is the rogue state of this region. Clearly India, it has this map in its parliament where it shows an Akhand Bharat, and for all the countries which are independent countries at the moment, it is a grave concern that India can maintain such a map in its assembly where all the parliamentarians which represent Indians are sitting there and they're happy with that map. Till then we have to be very cautious. Until and unless India believes in that Akhand Bharat, we're not in a safe territory, and it will never be, not because of Pakistan, not because of any other country, but India itself. And also America is also very interested, and India has always been the blue-eyed baby, no matter how much we've worked with America, but it is India that has always been treated as the blue-eyed baby of the West. All the Western countries believe that they must maintain a pseudo superpower. I would never call India a superpower, a pseudo superpower, which according to its movies is, and that is what it was expecting.
But
India
movies
expected.
are fictional. Movies are fictional.
India was expecting that, since it has made such good movies, so of course that is going to be played out, but we clearly saw that the fiction is fiction and reality is reality. I just want to say this, that narratives can be built and narratives can be supported, but narratives alone cannot diffuse wars. Narratives alone cannot decrease the threat of war. More actionable points need to take place, and India has to take those actions, not Pakistan.
Speaking about narratives, Ms. Farzana, that's a very important point that you raised. But speaking about narratives, one question that comes to mind, is mediation what we want, or is accountability what we want?
We require both. You see, nothing works on India. Pakistan has always been the host. It has always asked and requested multiple times to talk to India over, settling the issues that we have, and India has always backed away. Also, this is a tried and tested technique of India. It buys time. This is what they've done with Kashmiris. You know, it always buys time. It will come in front full throttle, and once it is smacked on its face, it will go back. But that does not mean that India has given up on its aspirations. India is good at buying time, and that is what they have done this time. And most probably they're not going back and looking at, oh my God, we need to behave ourselves. No, India at this point of time will actually be discussing that, okay, we don't have this. These events of last week, of this current wave, have thrown this region into a massive ammunition race. And the countries, particularly Pakistan, will have to tighten its belt. We have to be ready for this reality. I know the political reality is such that we are busy in our economic crisis, but here we are. India has clearly shown that it is not going to behave, and Pakistan has to be well prepared. It has to be on its toes all the time.
Well, Pakistan has also cautioned them to tread lightly, and in regards to that, Hassan Lani, had come towards you. When we talk about mediation, of course, it's a very welcome development, and Pakistan, after giving a befitting reply, a very effective and befitting reply, that of course they are going to remember for years to come. When we talk about the mediation efforts, of course, the ceasefire has been arranged, but when we talk about the way forward from here, what would you say about that?
See, Rafae, in this entire situation, one thing is very baffling, which I think it's a point to ponder for all of us too, that this trauma takes place on the 22nd of April.
Yeah.
Ever since then, Pakistan has been approaching different world leaders to intervene and de-escalate the rising tension between the two countries. Nobody pays heed.
Indeed.
All of a sudden, we are seeing that India starts to lose, suffer casualties, suffer losses at the hands of Pakistan. And then overnight, we see this overnight change coming from the US. The Secretary of State has a conversation with both India and Pakistan, and within a few hours, the ceasefire is announced. There is a strong possibility to believe that India might have itself gone up to the US, whining and imploring to save them from Pakistan.
So true.
India might have used US as a shield to get protection from Pakistan. And as Ms. Farzana said, there is a strong possibility that this could be a time-buying tactic. In the future, we could possibly be seeing more such hegemonic and dirty tricks played by India to subjugate Pakistan, to destabilize Pakistan, to again take on Pakistan, because at this point in time, the only goal left for India was to save itself from the rising humiliation and shame it was suffering, not just domestically but also internationally. As a matter of fact, even France is very pissed off at the Indian handling of their planes, because they say that you did not let down the planes, you let us down in the eyes of the international community. Our planes have never been down at any point. It was your incompetent pilots, the man behind the machines, who couldn't handle that. So India is suffering embarrassment on multiple fronts, domestically, politically, economically, diplomatically. So the only goal right now was to sneak away, slither away, wriggle out from this crisis that was mounting with each passing day. So I probably think that the US was not very inclined towards mediating between the two countries. On several occasions, we have seen statements coming from the US president. He said that both countries are near to me, both are dear to me, and I hope that they will resolve their differences bilaterally. Then all of a sudden, a sea change takes place when India starts to lose, suffer casualties, and suffer heavy, phenomenal losses at the hands of Pakistan. And then all of a sudden, the entire state changes. So I take it with a pinch of salt that this is a sincere desire by the international community to see the situation de-escalate. There could possibly be a drama behind this entire saga.
Well, definitely. Very important point raised, and I'd like insight from Dr. Asma Shakir on this. As we talk about the ceasefire, a very welcome development. We've talked about this. As the development unfolded to us. But when we talk about the mediation process, of course, how it's going to go forward, what do you think the conditions that are and the guarantees that are going to be, that should be given to Pakistan? Because it's not the first time that we see India using their false flag operations as a pretext for their aggression and provocative nature. Your take on that?
Yes, when we see Pakistan's threshold when it comes to our sovereignty, on number one, I would place Indus Waters Treaty. So our first demand should be that India would abide by the clauses of Indus Water Treaty and would not use it again as a weapon of war or as a weapon to bargain with Pakistan the water issue. Number two should be that in case of any violent incident in India, there would be an international inquiry under the framework of international law, which would declare that which country or which group or who is responsible for that violent attack. Without that, India would not blame Pakistan. Number three, that as per the spirit of Shimla Agreement, India would start negotiating with Pakistan about how to implement UN resolution on Kashmir dispute and find a solution. This current episode, thanks to Mr. Modi, this current episode of security situation in South Asia during past few weeks should make the world realize that conflict management is an outdated technique of conflict
Dr.
management
Azman, sorry to cut
only.
you here, but I'd like to add, what about the revocation of Article 370 and 35A? That also was a unilateral and
Yes,
illegal step
that
taken
would
by
be,
India back in
yes,
2019.
very, very well rightly pointed out. That would be included in our talks on Kashmir, that how to implement UN resolution, and there would be several points, other points on which both countries would negotiate, and revocation of reinstating the Article 370 would be one of them. And this is the right time to diplomatically make the world believe that conflict management only ensures negative peace, because the threat of war is imminent in it. So it is the right time that between two nuclear states, international community should play their role to implement UN resolutions on Kashmir, so that the issue of Kashmir can be resolved permanently. This region, Pakistan and India, cannot afford to be a brink of conventional or non-conventional war after every few years. When India, I think India has some memory loss, because after every few years, India forgets that how Pakistan fixed them during last limited conflict between the two states, and then they want to refresh their memories about Pakistan's preparedness, military excellence, tactical superiority, and then after that again they are on the this time taking path. I fully agree with my colleague Miss
Ms. Fazana.
that this the yeah Farzana, that this India, yes, India takes time, India wastes time as a time taking strategy, but what military excellence Pakistan has proved during past few days, for to achieve that, India needs decades of training and decades of, it is not about the machinery India has, it is
Dr.
about the usage, the quality of
And
its
not just training,
military
I'd say
forces,
courage as
and that
well.
needs decades.
They don't just need training, they need courage as well, because what we saw, the professional
Yes, I
readiness,
agree.
how the operational readiness, and of course the effective response by the country's security forces. We saw how the Indian side suffered losses, and of course talks about the vigor, the courage and the bravery that Pakistan's Jawans have, and of course a response given to them, a very befitting and effective response. And we saw how India, of course, a very embarrassing situation for them that they face domestically, and have also we also saw the criminal silence that was prevailing in India for the past many days, because of no evidence that they could provide, no answers that they had to the questions being raised by the Indian masses. But of course they continued with their aggression and provocation. Pakistan has responded, and it is a response that the enemy will remember for years to come. Unfortunately, that's all the time that we have at the moment. Dr. Asma Shakir, Executive Director of CISS AJK Chapter, Ms. Farzana Yaqub, former Minister of Azad Jammu and Kashmir, and Hassan Gilani, our correspondent who had joined us in the studios. Thank you all for your time and being part of the conversation as we talk about Operation BUNYAN on MARSOUS and the befitting reply that Pakistan has given to India. Of course, India with Bollywood, its movies, its propaganda, and even its Bollywood-inspired digital and electronic media. how it continued with propaganda against Pakistan. But when the time came, when the time was to respond, and when the place was to respond, the Pakistan military had its upper hand. And that's enough that Pakistan has to say to India and to the world community. A restrained and responsible country, but of course not to be tested. Well, that's the latest we had for you, and the tensions they de-escalate as a ceasefire has been reached between India and Pakistan. But of course, as the analysts have said as well, it is something that Pakistan has cautioned India, and we hope saner voices prevail there. But we cannot, of course, trust India, as it has its patterns of the old with regards to war hysteria, jingoism and propaganda. Well, that's the latest that we have from Situation Room. We'll keep updating you as the developments unfold. Till then, we have a break for the 6 p.m. bulletin. Stay tuned for that.